We've already blacked out the Mercurial Vapor 10 Techcraft and Mercurial Superfly 4 Savage Beauty boots, so if you want to check those out now, click on the card on the top right of the screen now. But now it's time to see if we can not only black out a coloured boot, but also dye the knitted prime cut collar. Following the steps in this video will hopefully ensure you guys blacking out your own boots will not only do a good job, but also make sure you don't damage or ruin your favourite pairs. So although we've already blacked out the Mercurial Vapor 10 and the Mercurial Superfly 4, both of these boots were predominantly black to start with. So after lots of comments asking for the PURECONTROL to go under the brush, let's see if the launch Solar Green model can actually be blacked out due to the bright colour and knitted construction. We've been hooked up by the company Blackouts with a full set of blackout equipment to transform the first ever and revolutionary PURECONTROL boots from modern solar green to classic black. You can find a link to Blackouts kits on our website in the description below. Let's get straight into step 1 to experiment whether coloured and collared boots can actually be blacked out. Our Blackouts DIY kit came with 3 different bottles, an acid to take away the factory finish, a black dye to coat the boots, and finally a finish to seal the dye. Step 1 involves stripping away the factory finish with the acid to allow for the dye to soak fully into the upper. Just note that the boots must be incredibly clean or new if possible for a high quality coating. We're using a cotton pad to apply the acid across the entire upper and Adidas 3 stripes, apart from the prime cut collar, which also creates the laceless area due to the acid causing damage to the exposed knit. The kit also included a small brush for using throughout the process, but we opted to use 2 longer handle brushes, with the thinnest tip utilised to precisely apply the dye around where the prime knit upper meets the prime cut collar and sprint frame sole plate. So you only need a little amount of the acid, especially if you are doing specific sections, and then you carefully stroke the cotton pad over the desired areas. Once done, leave to dry for 2 to 3 hours before continuing to step 2. Into step 2 and the boots are ready for the first layer of dye. We break it into 3 parts as you need to repeat this step a few times. As seen within step 1, we're going to apply the dye across the entire primary upper and Adidas 3 stripes, but we're also this time going to see how the dye works on the exposed prime cut material. We really didn't know how the dye would work on it, but the reason for these videos is to help you guys determine what works and what doesn't. As you can see, even with the first layer of dye, the PURECONTROL's upper actually took to the blackout really well, and arguably better compared to the previous Leather Vapor and Nike Skin Superfly. Try to be as careful as possible with the dye, especially around the sole plate, as unlike the previous blackouts we did, the dye proves pretty difficult to remove with the acid used in step 1. We used the thickest brush to coat the majority of the boot, including almost dabbing the textured prime knit across the toe box and side panels, and then used a thinner brush to carefully as best paint near the sole plate and collar. It's definitely a good idea to have a clear starting and end point to make sure you dye every section, and once you've painted the whole boot you can leave aside and bring the next one. now for the interesting part, dyeing the knitted laceless region and collar. And from the very first attempt at brushing on the dye, it was pretty clear it wasn't going to be a great success. By saying that, it was just a first step, and again we weren't sure how further coats would affect it. As soon as the dyed brush touched the knitted material, it instantly absorbed the dye without creating a layer on top, which also meant we had to use a significant amount to even cover the total area. We're now speeding up this process so you guys can see the entire step 1 in fast speed. Once the second boot is done, you need to put them aside in a cool, dry place without direct sunlight and leave overnight. After just 2 coats of dye, the PURECONTROL Solar Green upper was now become completely black and didn't require a third, so the only area we gave a third dyeing to was again the collar, which hadn't taken to the brush dye whatsoever. Instead, just a faint marker look was achieved. Giving up on the brushing technique, we decided to go all or nothing by literally pouring the dye straight from the bottle onto the collar itself. But again, due to the knitted material being so thick, the dye was just absorbed and again made hardly any difference. So after the 3-stage dyeing treatment, it was both a positive and negative result. The upper was probably the best and easiest to dye so far, however the collar proved almost impossible to transform into black. We used almost an entire bottle of dye trying to black out the collar, but it just wouldn't sit on top of the knit. Now progressing into step 3, we're at the stage where the boots have received 3 coats of dye and also sufficient time to dry. So now it's time to go over any mistakes we made very carefully with the acid. We're using cotton buds to precisely dab away any dye on the sole plate. Unlike the previous Vapor and Superfly boots, the PURECONTROL's chrome sole plate doesn't actually allow for the acid to take off the dye. However, interestingly, the parts which are flaked off did. Whichever boots you decide to black out and use the acid to go over mistakes, you need to be careful as the dyed upper can be wiped away too. Last stage in step 4, the boots are pretty much finished. They've been fully dyed and attempted to clean up with the acid, so now you need to apply the finish, which is a milky liquid which seals the dye to make sure it stays black throughout use. Again, we're using a cotton pad to gently wipe all across the upper, making sure every spot is coated, and you can see that the glossy dye then becomes more of a premium matte finish. We also put finish onto just one of the PURECONTROL's knitted collars to see whether there were any differences afterwards, but both remain soft and haven't cracked whatsoever. Once completed both boots, they're ready to dry overnight, and then you can start wearing the boots without worry of the dye fading away prematurely. So guys, there's how to black out your Adidas PURECONTROLs. The upper was a breeze to dye and looks ultra sharp, but the collar should be left alone to its original state, no matter what the colour actually is. Any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below, and flick us a like if you enjoyed the video. Cheers.